Hi, this is Chris Kellett with musegrid.com, and today I want to show you how to build a button just using the text tool. So this is the button we're going to be creating, and let's take a look at the different states that we've got in this button. So we've got the normal state here where we've got the arrow slightly dropped back in its intensity so that it's quite subtle with the white text. Then when we roll over, the white arrow pops out. Then we click on our mouse down and we change colour, and then in the active state we then change colour again, and we've got that subtle arrow so that it's not screaming out that it's been selected. So let's just take a look at that in preview mode and see how that works. So you can see as I hover over, the white arrow pops up and we click and the colour changes, and then because this button here has got the page selected, that's the colour it would show that it was selected. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the text, and we're going to be setting the margin, the left margin, the right margin, the space before and the space after, and then we're going to be using this arrow as a background image. Now the reason why we're using such a big arrow, it's got lots of white space around it, the actual graphic. We're using, it's almost twice the size, or it is twice the size as how the arrow appears here. And the reason we're doing that is that gives us flexibility then to modify this button. So for example, if I stretch this button out, we can see that everything retains its positioning. However, if I make the text bigger, so I'm going to go into my text tool here, and I'm going to up the size of the text, we can see that the button has enlarged. Now the graphic looks a bit pixelated there, but if you go into preview, we can see here that we've got a nice clean graphic. So we would need to change the text on all of those. Let me just change the text 48 on all of those there, and go to preview. So we can see here that the graphic is still nice and clean and doesn't look pixelated. So it's a good idea to use background images that are bigger than what you need, so that they're scaled down rather than Muse trying to scale them up. Let's just put everything back to where it was, and let's start building this button. So I'm going to switch that layer off, move down to the layer we're going to be working on, select the text tool, and let's just draw a text box, and we'll put click here. So we've got our text here. We don't need to resize it right now, we'll just resize it on the actual width here. Let's go to our text tool, and we're going to choose Bebas New as our font, which is a typekit font, and we're going to set the text at 24. Now you could do whatever size you want, we're just replicating the button I've already created, but don't see this as the only settings you can use whatever you like. This is an example. Let's change this to line height to 100%. Now this is when we make the changes. You might be tempted to try and use the spacing or the wrapping, but with the text we need to use the text tool. So I'm going to centralize my text. Actually, we'll leave it left aligned, but you could centralize it. And because I'm going to have this off center, so and my left margin I'm going to set to 24. My right margin I'm going to set to 50. That's because I want to have plenty of space for that white arrow to go there. Then I'm going to use the space above at 12 pixels and the space below at 10 pixels. So now we can see our button starting to form. I'm going to go to my radius tool, and I'm going to set that to 3, just so I've got some radius on here. And now we can put our background colour. So I'm going to go to my swatch, or I'm going to go to my fill tool and select that colour there. So we've got that, and go back to our text tool, and making sure that I'm on the normal state, I'm going to choose white. So we've got the basics there. Now let's put the arrow in the background. I've got my fill colour. Let's go to the image well here, and I'm going to choose my white arrow. You can see at the moment it's way too big, so and it's in the wrong place. So I'm going to choose its position to be right middle, and then I'm going to do scale to fit. So now it's resized nicely to fit within the area, because it needs to fit within the dimension, so it's going to fit within the height rather than the width. And that allows it to scale as well. So we've got all of our styles here now, and they're all exactly the same. So what we want to do now is to go through each one of those and change them. So the first one we're going to change is the rollover state, or the normal state actually. So I want the text to be white, but I want that arrow to be 50% white. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to click on the effects panel, use glow, and then I'm going to use the same color as the image itself. I'm going to set the blur to 250, which is the maximum blur, and you'll see what this does now. And then I'm going to choose the opacity to be 50%, because we want to knock that back by 50%, and then inner glow. Now you can see that what it's actually done is it's overlaid the background color over the top of that white, so we've got that appears to be 50%, and that means then we don't have to use a different colored graphic. We can just color that graphic, but notice the text retains its color. So next we want that to change to full white, 100% white. So in our rollover state here, we're going to go to our effects. We're not going to switch the glow off. We're just going to set that to 0. Leave the glow switched on, because that plays havoc a little bit with the rendering. Next one across, we're going to change the background color. So we'll go to our fill color here and choose that fill color. And then lastly, we're going to change the fill color, the background, to this color here. And we need to go into our effects panel and change that color to match, so we get that 50%. So now let's take a look and preview that. You can see there's our button. We've got that nice rollover effect there. So that pops out. We click and we see the color change there. And then if we set that to link to the home page, then we can see that let's put 2 in there. We'll have one that's set to the home page and one that hasn't got a link on it at all. So let's preview that. So you can see, because we're on the home page, this is showing the selected state, whereas these ones are just showing the rollover and the click state. And this button now, we can change its size, we can change the text in it by now. We can modify it, and we don't have rectangles and different things to play with. Even when you rescale it, that's not a very nice button, but you can see how everything moves with the button, so it's very easy to create. And you can use all kinds of effects and to generate all sorts of buttons. We could set this, for instance, to 10. Let's set 10 on all of those. And we've got a slightly more rounded button, but we haven't had to group anything together, and we haven't had to use a different coloured graphic. We've used all the same graphic. So that's a really easy way for creating your buttons. We use this method in the Muse Grid templates, and we find it very useful to make a one button style. A good thing to do, of course, with all of these styles as well, is to save them. So I'm going to save the paragraph style. I'll call that button text, and then to save the individual state, so I'm going to go to this first state here, go to my graphic style, and let's call that state 1. Go to my next state, which is the rollover, click on graphic state and change that. State 2. State 3, and then finally state 4. Now, why am I doing this? Because might want to reuse these, or I might want to modify them. So let's create another bit of text. So I'll call this just learn more, and we can see now all I have to do is go into my paragraph panels, apply my text style there, then go into my states. Let's move that up there. Go into my states panel, and on my normal state, state 1, my rollover state, state 2, my mouse down state, state 3, and my active state, state 4. And you can see that I've been able to replicate that style. And of course, if I want to change these buttons across the board now, if I go into my normal state here and I go to my fill, I could change that color to, let's say, the orange. I'd need to change my effects as well here to that orange. And now if I've got the little plus button there, so I'm going to hit the redefine selected state button, and we can see that both of our buttons have been updated to reflect that. So if we, I don't want to publish, click the wrong button, cancel. So we can see now our buttons have got this new color scheme on them, the selected item. So it's very easy then to change your color schemes across the board. So that's how to build buttons with text. Hope you found that tutorial useful. Check out more tutorials on our various channels, on musegrid.com, on our YouTube channel, on Facebook, and let us know what you think. And if you want any tutorials on anything that you'll get stuck on, please feel free to request on our Facebook page, and I'm sure we will get round to building the tutorial for you. Thanks for watching.